Recently, we asked our Instagram nanny community what challenging behaviors they were having trouble with at their current nanny job, and we got lots of feedback. Today, I brought in an expert to help you with the challenging behaviors you're dealing with at your nanny job. You're going to meet Adrianna in just a moment. Let me give you her bio quickly first. I'm going to put my glasses on and read it for you. Adrianna is a child development consultant who has studied at UBC with the Infant Development and Supported Child Development Program. She is committed to her time to continually educating herself in the development of children. She has continued to study attachment as a circle of security facilitator, as well as studied with Dr. Stuart Shanker and is certified with the Early Years Self-Reg program. She's here to share experience and practice on approaches to working with challenging behavior. We're super lucky to have Adrianna with us today, and we're going to go over some of the questions you let us know you were interested in finding solutions to. Hi, Adrianna. Thanks for joining us and being our first guest.
Thank you so much for having me today, Michelle.
I gave Adrianna's business bio, I guess you could say. Adrianna and I know each other for a long time. She has done many short-term and long-term placements with Nannies on Call, and she's also the mom of 2 boys herself, so she really does understand what nannies and parents are going through when we're talking about these issues we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Okay.
Very much.
We put it out to our Instagram followers and our social media to find out what challenging behaviors they were having in their jobs. And we got lots of questions. Adrianna and I wrote them out, plus a few extra questions just to outline everything. So we're just going to go through those, and we'll start with, what is challenging behavior anyway?
Huge. And I think it's really important to start by looking at what behavior is. We want to start looking at behavior as communication. We know that behavior is communicating a message, it's communicating a need, and that behavior is a response to stress. It's a response to stress or a trigger. And I think that that's really important to acknowledge, because even as adults, we have stress responses, we have triggers, we have things that set us off. The only difference is that we have so many years to develop these coping strategies. Kids don't. They don't have all of those experiences and ways to know, how do I cope with this stress? How do I cope with this trigger? I don't even know what's going on. They're not understanding those steps yet. And that's where we come in. We have to help the kids along the way to figure out what those coping strategies are. How can they help themselves to regulate those big feelings that they have? When it comes to challenging behavior, we really want to look at any challenging behavior is one that interrupts daily life. It's a behavior that is bigger than your average behavior. It's bigger than your average stress response. It usually looks like kicking, a lot of physical hitting, throwing things, running away, anything that's going to interrupt their ability to participate in activities, social interactions, and just be successful little kiddos. So those are the challenging behaviors that we're looking at.
Can you give a couple of examples of what might cause challenging behavior so that nannies can look out for these things?
Yeah, I think it's so important to really look at environment, look at biological needs, sleep, hunger, all of those things that play a big role even for us adults. But again, looking at these kiddos and thinking what their environmental stressors could be. We want to look at stressors as we're all carrying around this backpack with us. And sometimes their backpack is really full. And part of our job is to help unload that backpack for them, take some of the stressors off of them so that they can think rationally and make appropriate choices.
Yeah, I hear from a lot of nannies about the sleeping and eating. We hear a lot of feedback about that because they're not there all the time. So if they come in the morning, the child's had a bad sleep, we hear they know the day's off to a bad start.
Yes, which is why communication is so important between parents and nannies. Absolutely.
Communicate, communicate, communicate. I always say.
Yes.
Okay. Is ignoring bad behavior ever a good idea?
So you can ignore behavior. It rarely meets the need. And I think that that's important to look at, because if we're looking at behavior being a tool for communication, which it is, it's communicating a need, ignoring it is ignoring the need. If we want to diminish the challenging behaviors, which we do, and eliminate those stressors to really help this kiddo through those big feelings, how are we going to help do that? That's our mission. Eliminate those stressors, empty that backpack a little bit for them. And by ignoring it, we're not really making that attempt to really try and connect with them.
And it won't solve the problem long term by continuing to ignore it or address it.
No, you're going to see it again. Yeah. And you can ignore it again but it'll come back again.
Yeah.
So if you address the need, you validate the feelings that they're experiencing, making that connection is always worthwhile. And I've heard from so many amazing child development professionals, time in and not time out. Right. We often run to the timeout, and that's a form of rejection, if you want to put it that way. That's a form of ignoring the need. Okay. You know, when you put a child on timeout, try time in. That's connecting. That's validating the feeling. You're acknowledging the need. That's a step in the right direction.
That's interesting. I like that. It used to be one of our questions in our interview. We don't ask it anymore, but it used to be like, if a child's acting out at the grocery store, what do you do? Time in. Yes.
Time in.
This was a question that was asked on Instagram, I believe. So when an nanny is taking care of multiple children, how do they manage if one child has challenging behavior, but they also need to take care of the second child who's not acting out? You don't want to not give that second child attention, because the child that's acting out always is getting the attention.
Absolutely. And that's where communication is key. I think as long as the other children in the group know what's going on, front loading is what we call it. You know, we just want to front load. We want to let other children in the group know what's going on. Where am I? What am I doing? How they feel safe in that situation still. So I think anytime you're connecting with another child who's having a difficult time, let the other kiddos know. It's as simple as that. Just letting them know Kyle's having a tough time at the park. He's pushing some other friends at the park. I'm going to go talk to him over here on the bench. Did you want to come with me? Did you want to stay here on the swing? What would you like to do while I'm helping Kyle out? And giving that choice as well also puts them in a position of control. They have choices. You've made them feel safe because you let them know what's going on. You let them know where you are if they need you. But you've also given them a choice. You can come with me or you could stay here. They're in the control seat still. And that's a safety piece as well.
I really like that suggestion of letting them come with or stay what they're doing, because they're not.
Give them choices.
One of the issues we often hear, especially over the last year, is that children and nannies are sharing the same space. Often kids cry or act up in an effort to get their parents' attention when they know they're home and not out of the home at the office. Do you have any suggestions for nannies who are dealing with this? This is this is something we've heard so much over the last year.
Yep. Yeah. And this is super common, even more common now, obviously, because of COVID. There's a lot of parents who work from home. And I think, again, to deny that need that a child would want their parent for any reason, that's where, again, we have to look at the why. What is the reason? What is the need that the child has right now? Is it because they need a snuggle from mom or dad? Is it that they just have to ask them a question? Did they not get a good goodbye? Sometimes we see that there's no parting of ways. So there's no checking in. If the child doesn't know what's going on, they're gonna try and make sense of it the best way they know how. And that's seeking out their own information. And has there been a proper goodbye? Have parents said goodbye? There's so many reasons that the child could be seeking out the parent. What we want to know is why, and working with the parent to have that need met. If it's by texting, just to send a quick text. Susan is just, she keeps telling me she really just wants to have a quick hug. Is that okay if we come up in 5? All that communication that you can arrange beforehand as well, talking to the parents, is it okay if Susan needs to come up and see you? And when is that an appropriate time? And then communicating that to the kiddo, letting them know what's going on. Mom's just in a call right now. She's just working. I know you really want to see her. I did talk to mom, and so we're going to go up in 5 minutes. What do you want to do while we wait? And then just keeping choices, keeping that safe space and holding that calm for them is probably the best you can do in that situation.
I know we didn't talk about it, but you said it a couple of times, so I just want to bring it up before you move on. It sounds like goodbyes from the parents, because we've also had questions about this in the past. Goodbyes from the parents are very important. To make sure they know where they're going and when they're going to be back.
Absolutely. And that is all a part of knowing what's going to be happening. That's safety for kiddos. What is going to be happening next? Where did mom go? And when am I going to see her again? And depending on what the age is, time, we all know if you tell a 3-year-old 5 minutes, what's 5 minutes? Having something concrete, even a visual timer is really nice. Something concrete, like we're going to play a round of Candyland. And after we play Candyland, then we can go up and see mom. That's concrete. That's something that they know has a beginning and an end. And at the end, that's when they get to see their mom or dad.
It's a great suggestion. I just love that saying goodbye, because I know that's come up several times, and I do know it can lead to bad behavior. And I know a lot of parents sneak out because they're scared their children's going to have a meltdown when they leave.
Yes. And I mean, when we talk about front loading, like do that 5 minutes beforehand. You know, I think it's really important for parents and nannies to both know, because I think even nannies saying goodbye, you're an attachment figure. So I think even before the end of your day, you know, I need down with, I'm going to be going home soon. Oh my goodness. You know, mom's almost done work and I'm going to be leaving soon. So in about 5 minutes or at the end of a Candyland, I'm going to be going home, but I'll see you again tomorrow.
I really like the front loading. I love that. I wish I had known about that when my kids were little. So another situation that we hear from, and we heard from one of our nannies very recently, is children hitting the nanny, hitting siblings or other kids at the park. Obviously, you've already talked about the whys. I understand from what you've said, there may be other reasons children are hitting, but can you give us a couple of possible situations or suggestions and reasons they may be hitting and solutions for the nannies?
Yeah. And I mean, like you just mentioned, Michelle, I mean, we always want to be looking for the why. Why are they hitting right now? Are they frustrated? Are they looking to connect? And one point that I really wanted to just bring forward when it comes to attention seeking, physical behavior can often be looked at as attention seeking. If we replace the word attention with connection, it sometimes helps us look at that need a little bit differently, a little bit more kindly. When we think this child is just looking to connect, they're not attention seeking, they're connection seeking. Let's make a connection. And hitting can happen for so many different reasons, like we pointed out. And I think it's important to connect with the kiddo at that point. Coming down to their level, I think, is very important, you know, meeting them face to face. And it also depends on where they're at. If this is an explosive hitting situation, they're really angry and upset, and there's lots of big feelings happening there, talking is not going to be a part of the dialogue at that point. You're just trying to bring them back down to a calm place. They're not going to hear anything in that state of mind. So we just want to bring them back down to being calm. And however you can do that, there's lots of grounding activities, like having a sip of cold water, counting with them, breathing with them, letting them know you're having a really tough time. Wow, you're so angry. I'm here for you. Making that connection, letting them know that they're safe and you're holding that space for them is going to bring them back down to that calm place where you can talk to them and start to problem solve. You know, you are hitting me. I'm wondering why you were hitting with me. Using those I wonder phrases are really great because it puts the kiddos in the position of being the problem solver. We're not putting words in their mouth. We want to hear and work on their expressive language. You want to work with, how are you feeling? I'm not going to tell you how you're feeling. Right. I wonder what you're feeling. You know, I'm really angry because, you know, Liam took my blocks. Oh, you're really angry because your blocks got taken away from you and you were kicking me. Okay, well, let's go and talk to Liam. Would you like to do that? I wonder what we could do to fix this. And you are there to problem solve with them. And I think that that's a really important piece for them to know that they're not alone. Right. You're there to hold space for them. You're there to problem solve with them, to regulate with them while they're figuring out these big emotions they have.
There was, I know I'm throwing, this is off script, but when we talked before, you gave me a suggestion of a book that had to do with feelings and writing things down. Do you remember what that was? It was a website that had a bunch of resources on it.
Oh yeah, Big Life Journal.
Big Life Journal. I'll put it on the screen and I'll also put a link down below. But I looked at it and told a couple of the team members who work at Nannies on Call about it, and they went out and ordered it right away. They loved the look of it. Their website's fantastic as well.
And free resources every Friday. I look forward to Friday for so many reasons, but even more for my free printable. And they have so many great activities that you can do. And I love it. It's a great resource.
Yeah, I looked at it right away after we talked, and so did other people. I'll add it here too, so that nannies can look up that resource.
One thing I did want to point out too, when it comes to physical, you know, any type of kicking, hitting, punching, slapping, whatever it is, sometimes that can just be just needing to get that energy out, you know, that physical energy that we need to expel, and providing that opportunity and not meeting that need, you might still see that behavior come out again. So what we want to do is also replace that behavior. If we can't kick me, what can we kick? You can't kick me when you're angry. I'm not taking the feeling away. I'm not taking away the need. You need to kick something when you're angry. I get it. You can kick that ball. You can kick that pillow. Feels good to kick things sometimes when we're angry. Meet the need, replace it. You've honored it. You validated it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's totally different, but you know, you can color on paper, but you can't color on the wall. It's just replacing. You can still do it. You just have to do it in a different way.
Well, and how often does it work when we're like, don't do that?
Right.
Well, I don't know that that works so often, maybe, but
yeah. Okay.
It's always better if we can replace.
And this is where your nanny experience comes in. And I think you can use your training that you've done now and your past nanny experience. But nannies are often worried about bringing the issues up with the parents. They're worried they'll be seen as not doing a good job if the child's hitting or acting out during the day. Do you have any suggestions of how nannies can bring these issues up to the parents in a kind way?
Yeah. And I think that that's a huge piece. And I think it's so, so important because as we've already pointed out, communication is critical. It's critical to getting the job done right. And I totally appreciate the feeling of wanting to seem like you have it all in control. Like, I got this, like the parents are relying on you. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. Where we run into issues is that by not communicating some things that are happening, we could be missing out on a lot of information, and the parents could be feeling the exact same way. They could be seeing the exact same behaviors that we've been experiencing as carers. And then, without talking about it, there's no consistency. We don't know how parents are approaching it or if they are. We want consistency across the board. So by bringing it up, you can bring it up in just a really general way, taking a moment after parents have finished their workday. And I wanted to note that I feel it is really important to make sure that children are not around when you're talking about challenging behavior or any type of behavioral or developmental concerns. Very important that kids are not around for those conversations. When talking to the parent, is just taking a quiet moment, pointing out what you're seeing. I noticed that Rebecca has started throwing her toys down the stairs. She'll throw them all down. She won't have anything to play with. It's starting to mark up the walls. Have you seen anything like this? Has that been happening for you guys? Mom could just, oh yeah. It's happening a lot, actually. We're seeing that too. And it's happening right before we're starting to get ready for bedtime. Okay. So that's interesting that you say that, because usually when we're trying to get ready for nap time is when she just starts throwing all of her toys down the stairs. Okay. So I'm wondering, what are your thoughts? What do you think, what are you guys doing right now to resolve that? And we haven't really done anything, but I'm thinking maybe we could try having a fun activity to follow after bath time, just to kind of prepare for bedtime, or just trying to make a connection. We'll try and chat with Rebecca and see what her feelings are, and staying on the same page. And I feel that that's really important, because not only is there consistency, you get that reassurance and validation also from parents. You guys are a team. Everyone's working together to meet the child's needs. And I think that can't be lost. That is the most important piece that's there.
And coming with some suggestions of your own as a nanny is okay as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And don't be afraid if they haven't seen it. Oh gosh, no, we've never seen them throw any toys down the stairs. You're like, oh, okay. Well, do you have any thoughts about how you'd like to approach that? I'm thinking that I might not react to it, have her pick up the toys afterwards, or replace that and have her throw a ball instead of her toys, or whatever it might be. Work with the parent. They're there to support you too.
I've already learned from you, because I'm thinking we could front load it if we're switching from one activity to the next. Maybe they just need time.
Yes. See?
I'm learning already.
So true. Transitions are very, very important.
Yeah, transition.
Yeah.
We did talk about that, giving them time to transition from one activity to the next. You did see the front loading, really giving them 5 minutes or after this game or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, that's big.
That was all the questions we had. Do you have any last words of wisdom, things we didn't touch on that you want to address?
Yeah, I feel it's really important to remember that children are not brought into this world wanting to manipulate, that they are not wanting to get on our nerves and make us angry for no reason. There's always a reason that we're seeing the behaviors that we're seeing. And if we're able to look at it just with a lot of compassion and kindness, that this kiddo is going through something. There's something stressing them out. There's something triggering them. You are a behavior detective now. You are trying to figure out what that need is to help meet that need. When that's met, then you guys are cruising. And I think also I wanted to mention, when strategies are put in place, you don't see things disappear overnight. You work with the parent, you come up with the strategies and approaches. If it works, awesome. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to figure out the why. It takes a little bit longer to figure out what the need is and the strategies of how to meet the need appropriately. Stick with it. Have consistency, have a lot of communication with the parents. And I think as long as we're showing up to listen to the kiddo's message that they're sending us through the behavior, then you're on the right path.
Thank you for your time, Adrianna. You're a wealth of resources. And just so everyone knows, Adrianna does consulting as well. So if you need some help, or maybe you can suggest to your family some help, she can come in and see the actual behavior. It was a little hard, right? Because we had to come up with a few scenarios, but she needs to see the child, see the behavior, so she can help you address it, figure out some solutions for it. But she does that. So I'll make sure to put all her contact information in the description below in case you need some help. And hopefully we'll have Adrianna on again and we can discuss another issue or something that comes up.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to connecting with anybody that's needing a little bit of help and support at home.
Great. That sounds amazing. Thanks,
Adrianna.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.